Hi there. How are you? My beautiful co-host.
Ready to go. Ready to go.
Ready to go. So, welcome everybody to today's show. And it's Wednesday, June 25th. How about that? We passed midsummer. We had a lot of holidays. And you're watching Cosmic Sis-Stars Show with Corinne and Anne. And today we will talk about the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, Inside 4. And this is really exciting. We're going to also talk about how we are kind of guided in the times ahead without knowing
Mhm.
when things are really, how things are going to fit in into what's going on around us, right? So today, Inside 4 is about the control drama. People often compete for energy unconsciously, right? And it's really exciting because that is about how to focus energy and what we are doing with it, right? We talked a lot about that before. You can find upcoming and past episodes and connect with me and Corinne at angelplaceonearth.com/cosmic guardians. Also finding the episodes at angelplaceonearth.com/upcoming-past. And I created a new page on the website just for the series because this is our second series. And you can find our series at angelplaceonearth.com/series dash cosmic dash guardians. So that's it, right? We have done a series about the 4 agreements in the past. We started in January this year. 4 parts and a summary.
Mhm.
So that is over there. You can find it, and also articles and everything around that. And you always find all episodes at, sorry, stumbling on the words here, youtube.com/at angel place on earth slash streams. That was hard to remember, right? And our last show on Cosmic Guardians and with Cosmic Sisters was last Wednesday, June 18th. And we talked about feeding the fear. So I think that basically we are talking about all those things that are connected to our world today, globally, right? In
Mhm.
one way or another. So it's a very fitting time. And today we're going to talk about the energy and how to work with energy, of course, and what's going on, and energy vampires and stuff of that nature, and the positive side of energy as well. So we go live on YouTube every week for you now at youtube.com/at angel place on earth slash streams. And we always stream the live show afterwards now on facebook.com/cosmic guardians because it's easier this way. We had a lot of hiccups on Facebook, so we do it this way. And they don't keep videos and live shows more than 30 days now any longer. So it's better to have one place where we do stream. And we are working on streaming directly on Corinne Mooney's own YouTube, and that's upcoming.
The
We
finger.
will announce when that is ready. So, by the way, we launched a 12-part series in May this year, uh, where we talk about the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. And there are 12 insights. So we are going to reach sometime in the middle of November. And the last one is going to be the 13th show about the Celestine Prophecy series. It's going to be a summary of all of it, right? So we
Mhm.
have to work hard to fit that in. Maybe we go to 2 hours then, if we're going to have all that stuff to talk about. So we are excited about this. And even though James Redfield came out with the book 89, it's still very accurate for today's life because it's deep and very accurate information. So, what do you say? Are you ready to start diving in here?
Dive in. Yes.
Dive in. I'm going to read a part of the original text by James Redfield. Um, when we seek the ethic of giving and not taking from or manipulating others, we step into consciousness. We begin to detect our ego's past manipulation devices, control dramas we have used to build ourselves up at another's expense, right?
Mhm.
If we are mindful and catch ourselves every time we begin our control drama, eventually our control drama falls away completely. The dramatics begin to fall away until we can stop ourselves before we ever lapse into such a trap, right? That
Mhm.
is awareness.
Yes.
Now, through giving, we can move forward synchronistically in freedom, ready to experience even more extraordinary moments of God's connection. And that text is by James Redfield himself.
Mhm.
So here we go.
And beautifully said. And it's a beautiful that this man's insights were preparing us for the eventuality of now. And for all of us that have been trying to implement them into our lives, I think we have done a lot to propagate the need for change, the need for understanding. And many of our shows are talking about so many of these insights without saying it's an insight. And just to start off, a little insight into the amazing gift of energy. I have been blessed to be a Reiki master teacher for over 40 years, and I've experienced many wonderful things. And when the universe gives me an opportunity to experience these, it's a gift to me and being able to share this energy. But I was in the yard and I noticed there was movement in a net that was hanging nearby. And when I went to look, I found a hummingbird that had been trapped. And in Arizona, it was well over 108 degrees. And I knew that all creatures need water, but hummingbirds especially need to constantly be consuming food or water, or they will die. And he lay there helplessly, and his wing was bent completely out of shape. I gently put him in the palm of my hand and began letting the Reiki flow. And I will say, I've never held a hummingbird before. And he literally, I could not feel him in my hand. He was so light, so fragile. I started just touching his beak with drips of water just to get him to kind of come back to life a little bit. And finally, he started drinking the water very slowly, but every now and then his little body would jerk. Uh, I watched as his wing actually started moving back into its natural position. And after about an hour, I got a favorite branch from where he feeds, so he could perch on it, and thinking that would give him some stability. And slowly, he was able to start drinking some of the hummingbird food that I had, which is a liquid. And I knew he would not survive if I just left him out there on this perch. So I brought him in the house, put him in a big box, and then covered that with a sheet and woke up at dawn because birds are moving at dawn. And miraculously, his little wings, and if you've ever seen a hummingbird, you cannot see the wing moving. It flutters so fast. And that's where and it makes a humming noise when they do. And so I realized that he wasn't going to stay around for breakfast. So I took him outside and put him in his favorite tree. And then he took off, and I knew he would be okay. And the gift of giving energy and then receiving back the gift of seeing him thrive. This is what this is all about. It's the giving and the receiving of this divine love. And this is exactly what we're talking about today. This is what the world is made of. And in the third insight, we learned of that there was the energy out there. And now in the fourth, we are learning what it means to live in that energy. Correct?
We correct. We are indeed, and because everything is energy, energy is more powerful than anything else,
Exactly.
right? And if
Exactly.
we go into quantum physics, we are not even solid. And I think we mentioned that before. But
Mhm.
there's a statement that is quite common on social media, um, where energy, something in the nature of where energy flows, attention goes, or the opposite, maybe.
Exactly.
And we can, in times when we are presented with challenges, for instance, pay attention to where we actually put in the most effort. It doesn't mean that we don't educate ourselves or stay aware of things. It's very different from attentionally, intentionally focusing on the desired outcome, right? Because we
Mhm.
can. Absolutely, we can, right?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
what I have really learned working with Reiki is to hold that energy and allow the person you're working with to be able to use that energy how they need to use that energy. And yes, our intention is to hold that energy. However, our intention is not to manipulate the energy to what we think it should be. And this is
Exactly.
a very, very, very important thing of being able to, here's water. Now, if you want to drink in it or bathe in it or give it away, that is your priority. But I'm providing this for you. And there again, it's the giving. However, we learn in the fourth that in order to survive, and we all seek the energy. I mean, the expression sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, all of these things, believe it or not, are control methods, controlling us or controlling others. And then you add, power and the need to be better than. Um, and people have developed over a period of time ways to manipulate it so they can pull that energy out of another. And literally, if you see aura, you can actually see a person's aura and then someone come into it and siphon it away.
Yeah.
And but the energy that we can produce in a beautiful way is holding that energy for the plants. And last week we talked about how if you focus the energy on the plants, that plant will become so familiar with you that when you consume that plant, you are even a higher energetic level. But it's how people misuse that. But we all
Yeah.
want that energy. We just don't know how to maybe get it.
Yeah, I think a part of this is that we may have been taught in one way or another. Maybe this is an unconscious behavior. Sometimes it's very
Yes,
conscious, right? That we need to control this. But when we let it free, that's when we have access to it. That's
yes,
when it flows because we cannot control energy in that way. And that's creating the control drama also, right?
yes.
And I think it's very early in there, but I have a personal story, actually.
No, perfect right now. Perfect now.
Yeah, to say about this. And also to give a heads up that this thing actually works. It does, because everything is energy. And I had um, a woman that I was meeting a few times, right? And I could feel that she somehow used my energy, because you feel you get drained, you
Hmm.
get tired, you feel depleted of energy. And I said to myself, because she didn't really listen to what I said, because I suggested that maybe we weren't a match to continue seeing each other, and she didn't want to listen to that. So I made a small ritual. I say ritual because it's something like an affirmation or something, because we are in charge of ourselves, right?
Hmm.
And I did it one evening, and I said something in this terminology, that I close my energy door for anyone who wants to use my energy, drain my energy, manipulate my energy, positively or negatively, without my conscious consent,
Hmm.
right? And I met her the evening after, and she said to me, you don't really want to talk to me, do you? Because she could pick up that I closed the door, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, it's not out of judgment for someone, right? But it's not appropriate to feed ourselves with someone else's energy, because we can have it. We all have access to it. And that
Yes.
is, fear based when we get into deplete someone else's energy. So even if it sounds harsh, maybe that was the most loving way I could do it for her as well as for myself, right?
Exactly. And there comes times when we have to let go, and we've talked about that. Setting boundaries, letting go, having enough self-love that we realize that this is a loop that we're on, and it's not resolving itself. And that doesn't assist either one. It's just like, well, I'm thirsty, so I'll go drink this, and then when it's all gone, then I'll go over here. But then as soon as that fills up again, I'll go back over and take more. And as it's you said in the beginning, when we learn to fill our own energy and we feel safe being able to share that and knowing that someone isn't going to deplete us, then they can also grow. And
Yes.
there was a children's book that I found that I read to my children, and it was one of the best stories I ever read. And it was called Warm Fuzzies. You have to now order it online because I haven't seen it everywhere, but it should be out there. And this beautiful story tells of a village where everybody, the minute they were born, got a basket of warm fuzzies. And so they were handing out warm fuzzies all the time. You're wonderful, thank you. You know, all these wonderful kind things that we say. And and then reciprocal. But as they gave away their warm fuzzies, it was always filled. Well, there was a woman that wanted to sell potions to fill that void. And she couldn't do that in this village because everybody was happy and everybody was sustaining on this energy. So she started spreading rumors and saying, if you give away your warm fuzzies, you're going to run out. You better save them. You know, and so people started being stingy with the wonderful inspiring words that they would give to people, and gradually they started having problems, and then they would buy her potions. Well, there was a small child, and he was constantly giving away his warm fuzzies, and they watched. He never ran out of his warm fuzzies, and they said, well, we won't either. We just got off track. And this is energy. We've all been given this loving energy, but because of situations. We've learned to be stingy with it, and we've learned how to glean this energy from other people. And there are different ways that people pull that energy out of it. And why don't you tell some of the ways that they're energy people that control the situation?
Yeah. You know, first of all, it's fear-based in my perception, right?
Yeah.
Because when we draw energy from someone else, we have a feeling there's a lack for ourselves. We
Mm-hmm.
cannot provide ourselves. But in reality, all of us have um, access to the free-flowing source energy. I call it source energy,
Yes.
the genuine source energy. So we're not ever going to run out of it. But when we are, um, you could call it like being an energy vampire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without um, only feeling that it's a negative word, it's just an expression, right? But
Right.
it's basically when you out of fear try desperately to fill yourself with things, but it cannot be only from people. Sometimes it's things that are in our world. So we put our attention somewhere else. So I go shopping all the day, new clothes every day, because I want to fill a void within myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or I start to drink very often because I feel that that's going to relieve me from something. I feel maybe relaxed, right?
Mm-hmm.
We seek out other sources many times, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's not ever going to fill us with a real, genuine energy because it's artificial. And I'm not talking about AI. I'm
No.
talking about something that is not real. It's something created. And all the commercials, for instance, that are giving us a heads up that if you buy this, you're going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the right relationship, you're going to be happy. But there's only one way of finding that happiness, and that is coming from within, right? So,
Yes.
um, you know, I think that most people are probably most challenged by relationships because it's emotional and we open up ourselves, right? But where we can see that it goes a little bit off the road, so to speak, is when we think that a particular person is going to fill that void, that energy within
Yeah.
us, right?
Yes.
Because that's not going to happen. It's
No.
not coming that way. But also when we start working on ourselves and when we start understanding that when I do things that feels really genuinely good for me, not the artificial stuff like shopping or drinking or sex even, sorry for saying that
Yeah. That's
on air,
hey, it's real.
or all those things that are not um, bringing that true happiness and the true energy flow for us. Kind of lost track there. Anyway,
Yeah. But it really is true. And as we've spoken many times, we learn so much as we're growing up, and the you start developing certain habits of understanding how you're going to get what you need. We all need to feel validated, feel seen, feel love, and we relate that. We don't understand that that's energy, but we want it. We want it first from our parents. And if you're living in a situation where you have one or both parents, but you go up, and I'm going to use a typical, because a lot of times males are more aloof than others. They're used to just, what do you want? Okay. And you have to pull out the acceptance. What did you think of my how I did in sports? Good. But Did you come to the game? Yes. I mean, just you're pulling and pulling the energy. So you learn to be an interrogator to try and get a gleam of this energy. That person is very aloof. And when they are in a situation, they use that because when you have to drag it out of them, they become in control of your energy. And there's different ways you run into the bullies or the intimidators, and they get the energy from making you feel afraid.
Yeah.
And then of course we all love the poor me. Oh,
Yes.
things are so bad, and you just have to pour all this sympathy. So that's how they fill it. But people are not just one thing. We've learned to use them in different situations, and we all do. And when you become aware, you try not to use them, and you become aware that there's other ways to feel that energy without you going into those tactics. But
Yeah,
it's real.
um, getting energy from someone, you can be very, very mean on one side,
Hmm.
but you can be over the top sweet on the other side and gain the same thing. It's
Yes.
two opposites, right? But it's the same thing. You gain attention and you gain energy and you are focused upon,
Yeah.
right? So I think that I'm going to read something you wrote.
Okay.
One of the greatest drama-filled human experience we encounter is the relationship, as we started to talk about, right?
Yes.
Whether with friends, family, jobs, or careers, right? These are all examples of how we choose to move energy. In the beginning of a romantic relationship, a great deal of energy flows between two people. And this is, of course, a very blissful time, right?
Yes. Yes.
As the relationship continues, complexity and decision making begin to pit the two people against each other, right? So we don't share maybe the same perspective of you all the time. Each one seeks validation. Each believes they have the answer, and each will do whatever is necessary to be right.
Yeah.
Now it becomes a competition, a situation where one or both feel out of control and feel that in order to survive, they must have the upper hand. This is a classic, isn't it?
We hear this all the time. uh, Maybe different words, maybe different people, but it is that drama. They're not listening to me. They won't do what I want. I feel that we should. I am doing it better. And when you begin to understand that filling your own self love, you have the ability to give instead of always trying to receive.
Yeah,
And you start looking at the person that you're with and realizing that, okay, let's see which situation works better. And one time, maybe their energy is going to produce a better result, and then go with that, or this one, rather than constantly fighting each other. And but that only comes when you have self-confidence, self-love, self-assurance, authenticness. Where's that word I've
exactly.
heard before?
Yeah, and when we strive for energy and we also try to keep healthy and wonderful relationships, that there is a time frame in our own evolvement where we feel like this is really heavy because I'm sensitive, I'm picking up all these things and I do understand them, but know that that part is only a temporary part, and it depends on you how much you're willing to pay attention to what's going on, because we are in charge of our own energy and we are in charge of how we can manage.
Hmm.
The example I stated before, um, it is a little bit maybe to the extreme sometimes, but you can think of it as cutting the energy somehow. And if you find yourself in a place where I feel that someone is drawing my energy, just cut it. And that means say, oh, sorry, I need to go to the ladies' room or men's room, or
Yes.
I forgot I need to make a phone call. Maybe, whatever you have to do, right? Because it just takes a second to cut the energy.
Yes.
And the good news is that actually moving on this journey and learning and understanding the dynamics of control dramas and energy exchange and everything, you are going to become a master of it in
Hmm.
the end. And you're not going to feel, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this.
Yes. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have heard the expression cords, and people want to have the cords to someone else cut. Well, I never cut cords. I obliterate them, because you don't need to just cut it off and have it grow again. These are real. They're energy cords, and when you are with someone, and you and I have a cord, but we are
Yes,
giving back and forth. We're not
yes,
trying to put the other one down, or be better than, and there's no competition. We competition to be the best we can be, but there's no competition between us. And when I cut cords, I can literally see them, where it's coming into a person's heart or into their back. Or at one situation where I saw this person was being stabbed in the back.
yeah,
And they're real. They're very, very real. And when you're in a relationship with anybody, in any situation, job, romance, whatever, we do form these bonds between them. And people that see energy can see that energy. But if it's
yeah,
constantly flowing from you, I was in a relationship with this person. Was just, he was miraculous in many, many ways. And over the years, I realized that he only was surviving because he was utilizing my energy. And I lovingly gave it, until I realized that I wasn't able to do what I needed to do, because I was constantly building him, and constantly giving and constantly giving, and there was nothing in the receiving. And as we know, with droughts and everything else, eventually, even that lake is going to be down low if you just keep taking and
yeah,
not filling it.
yeah,
And we are such powerful movers of energy. I really believe that we were put here to be receivers and transmitters. And when you learn to connect to the consciousness, to the field, to the oneness, this is what feeds and fills us and gives us the ability to be able to have a basket of warm fuzzies. And I can always give them out. I will never run out.
exactly. And by giving, we are also receiving. But as you stated, you can easily be depleted, right? So there is much to master here, to understand. And I also see energetic cords, and this may sound gross, but it's my vision. I see them as tentacles.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, and it's
Yes.
like if there are unhealthy and building up, because they can become really, really big,
Yeah.
and needs to be removed, right? And then it's not only to cutting cords, but also in the process learning to determine, when do I feel, do I have a sense here that something is going on? And we do that before we get angry, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because it's easy to be angry if we are a sensitive person, and we feel like someone is dragging our energy, that or manipulating or doing whatever, right? But
Yes.
it's something that we actually can master, but we also need to pay attention to it, right? So if I feel something here is only going one way, yeah, I become aware and then I can work with it. But like everything else, please remember it's a process. Don't beat yourself up if you're
No.
not going to succeed um, right away. Like be paying attention every minute of the day or every day or every week, right? And we can always remove those, but it's a part of um, understanding yourself and understanding energy because
Yeah.
it's real. Like I said with the lady that picked up that I closed the door
Mm-hmm.
to my energy for anyone who wanted to use that without my conscious consent. And we can do that. And it really does work because she asked me just less than 24 hours after, right? So she picked it up.
She
And
picked it up.
maybe she was a little bit more sensitive than people normally are. So she did pick it up fast, but we can always see a change in energy. And a lot of people are fearful when it comes to cutting cords because they have a sense that cutting cords is going to mean that I'm turning my back on someone or I close the door totally for them forever. No, it's not. And the benefit of cutting cords and paying attention to the energy is that if you have a challenging relationship with someone, either it's going to be a good one, it's going to grow, or you're going to part.
Mm-hmm. When I'm eliminating cords from people, and it creates a vacuum within, and I always make sure that I fill that with love and light, so there's
Yes,
not a hole for it to come back in. However, I always tell people that within 24 hours, you're going to have that person contact you because they're going to feel something's different in the force, so to
yes,
speak. And being these wonderful energy people beings that we are, you've heard me speak about when all the people that came together to put a positive force into that hurricane that was going to hit Florida, and
yes,
how it went from the worst kind of hurricane to just a tropical storm because we were holding energy that we did not change it. We do not manipulate energy. All we did was put positive energy into that it could do what it needed to do, but as gently as it needed to do, you know, because
yes,
we don't control. We're not into control. And we are living in a time right now where there are different elements that are going through dramatic traumatic changes. Now, if we concentrate on all the negative that's going on, all we're doing is feeding the negative.
yes,
Oh, isn't this horrible? What are we going to do? How is this going to affect us? We're feeding it. And every Tuesday night, I hold an open heart meditation here at my center. And last night, I was speaking to the participants, and I said, as light workers, we are given this opportunity to hold the positive energy so the universe can balance itself.
yes,
We're worrying about it, or sending we should this and we should that and stronger, and all of that stuff that just feeds it. It's like you have a hungry animal and you keep throwing it what it wants. And the only way that you're going to stop feeding the fear,
yeah,
is to stop
exactly.
feeding the fear by you not building the fear. by you
Yes.
building love and letting
Yes.
that flow.
And that is with another way of stating it is paying attention to where we focus the energy.
Exactly.
Because in our world, everything has a polarity, hot and cold, dark and light, right?
Hmm.
So the negative energy for something always have a positive polarity. So
Yes.
if we focus on that positive polarity, sending energy to a situation doesn't mean, like you said, that we can control it, because we can't. It's out of our hands, right? But the energy we are sending is for a positive outcome. And we can't even control the outcome, but maybe we could send the energy intentionally in stating something like, uh, for freedom for someone, or may they find their way in the best of their ability for what they want, right? Because we're not
Yes.
supposed to, if we state that we know exactly what someone needs, um, we are challenging their free will somehow, right?
Yes. Yes. And then we literally become the manipulator. And we had a show about this, is how to give words of encouragement without saying, well, you should do this. That's a bum. When I had my divorce, I this, and saying that we have the authority, we know how to handle that situation. This is not real an energy exchange. This is, again, that control. Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
control you because I have all the right answers. And
Yes.
learning to have the words that will inspire somebody, or just being with them, as we've spoken about before. So it's about within ourselves, holding that loving energy and keep building that loving energy, and then allow it to do what it needs to do. Like in meditation, um, I will explain to everybody that's here that just being here, just sitting in this room and opening your heart, that energy is touching over 1,000 humans. Now, we had 6 people last night. That's 6,000 human beings within this area that were gently touched by positive, loving vibes, so to speak. And how they don't go, oh, it just got hit with all those wonderful things. Oh, I'm going to change my life. But maybe at that moment, they go, oh, well, I really don't need to be yelling at this person. Oh, and just have a feeling of peace.
Yes.
My neighborhood over the last 10 years has gone from one of uh, anger, violence. It wasn't that way when I moved here 50 years ago, but stuff happens. But it was, you just heard chaos out there 24/7. And now you see families going to the park. I don't hear people screaming at each other. Car doors are not constantly being slammed. Something changed, and the only thing that changed is that we're doing meditation every night. I mean, every Tuesday.
It's
So,
beautiful.
hey, I'm going to vote for that one. Right there. Okay.
Yes. Yes. And I want to talk a little bit of, again, I know we mentioned this, but we can talk about it again, because it's important. The dynamics of energetic exchange, right?
Yes,
So, from an energetic perspective, every interaction is a transfer, right?
very much so.
Transaction. When we feel depleted, we instinctively seek ways to replenish ourselves, right?
I'll drink to
For
that.
many, For many, this replenishment comes not from genuine connection or internal well being, but from drawing attention and energy from those around. And this, we stated with this. We have a few very common ways of doing that, and we can call them by names. One common manifestation is the intimidator, who uses anger or aggression to dominate a situation and make others fearful, thereby gaining their attention and energy. The poor me, as you also mentioned, right, conversely employs victimhood, seeking sympathy and pity to draw others in and receive their focus and support, right? Then we have the aloof, who plays hard to get, creating a sense of mystery or indifference that
Mhm.
compels others to pursue them and expend energy trying to win their approval, being confirmed by them, right?
Mhm.
Finally, the interrogator constantly questions and analyzes, attempting to find flaws or inconsistencies in others, which puts them on the defense and drains their energy. So, how can we manage these things? Yeah, well, recognizing the patterns.
Mhm.
And first of all, we're going to have a sense within when we feel like, oh my goodness, I'm getting tired, right?
Mhm.
That is a sign. Listen to your body because our bodies also are telling us a lot of things, right? Understanding these unconscious patterns is the first step toward breaking them and breaking free from their grip. So we often fall into these roles, both as perpetrators and as recipients,
Yes.
without realizing the underlying energetic exchange that is taking place, right?
Mhm.
The feeling of being drained after certain interactions or the compulsion to engage in specific behaviors to get reaction from others can be strong indicators that a control drama is unfolding. So just becoming aware, that is the
Yeah.
first step, right?
Yes. I love that you just put it so perfectly. And I had always, as I've said to you, it seems that when we're getting ready to do a show, we'll have a situation where it gives us an opportunity to have the experience. So we go, oh yeah, okay, well this is going to work. A long time ago, right after I had read the Celestine Prophecy, probably for the 10th time because I read it periodically, and I went out with this man for the first time, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, and I mean he's kind of saying nice things every now and then, but I'm getting really antsy. And I could not put my finger on why. And then I realized he was an interrogator.
Yeah.
We were not having a conversation. He might as well have taken the light, shown it in my face. What did you do? Why did you do it? What are you going to do? And when he brought me home, I said, do you realize that we did not have a conversation, that you were interrogating me the whole time? No, I wasn't. And I said, yes. And it was very uncomfortable. And I said, I mean, I was very nice about it, but I knew that I could not stand to be in this person's presence and constantly feeling like this.
Yeah.
And when you're with somebody, listen to what your gut is saying. I mean, you don't have to slap them in the face, please,
No.
but you learn that I don't care if this man was offering me marriage and a fortune to have to endure more of what he just did to me. I'm going, no way. And recognizing that there was a pattern. Why put myself into a situation where, well, I think I can do this? I had another situation where I really wanted to work in a certain town, Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where the place to happen. And I secured a job over there. And I'm standing there getting ready to go in and do a massage for this person. And I'm changing and I'm going, after having had the interview, I can do this. I can make it work. I'll be able to do this. I really wanted to work here. And I realized I was talking myself into putting myself in a situation that was going to be detrimental to my health. And I said,
Yeah.
heck no, I'm not staying. Thank you very much.
You
But
know,
it gave me information, it gave me a way
yes,
to
it
get
did.
out.
And I had a very recent experience with this. A nice lady, because I live just above a mall, right? So whenever I go out, I don't think that people realize that there are apartments above many times. They are visiting the mall, a lot of people coming and going. And
Mhm.
I went down, I was on my way. I wanted to sit a little bit to relax, and then I wanted to go into the mall because it's 50 meters to walk. And I had this lady coming, excuse me, a question. And I said, I gave her the information. I don't even remember now what it was. And then she, like the interrogator, she bombarded me with questions.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm sorry. I'm just relaxing a little bit. I live up here and I'm not here to give much information because I can't help you anymore. I gave you the answers.
Mhm.
I tried to do it in a gentle way, but I'm kind of the person to the point many times. But that's me, right? And I have the right to be me. And I was not
Yes,
rude, but I had to cut it. And once I said I live above here, she started questions about that. And I said, you know what? Have a wonderful day.
exactly.
Off you go.
Exactly. And there is uh, uh, as we were speaking before, and this phrase came. It's okay to say no way or go away. It's okay. And we've been trained that it's not
We can say
ladylike, it's
no.
not
Yeah,
friendly, you're not, you know, but you need to know when you need to say to somebody, thank you for the evening, but I really don't want to continue this.
exactly.
It's okay.
It is okay because what happens when we don't listen to ourselves and when we
Oh,
continue, we get angry. Maybe there's room for misunderstandings because there's going to be tension in the air. A
always,
lot
yeah.
of things happen, right? So this is driving us into something interesting, how to move beyond the drama.
That's right. And last week we were talking about not feeding the fear. And this is so appropriate that we're doing this one because we understand how people create a fire within us and get our emotions all, is it worry, is it fear, is it doubt, bringing those up literally as if we're spewing all of these energies out and they're sitting there with their mouth open go look 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 because we're feeding them. We're literally feeding them. And that's the same with all the things that are going on in the world. We're feeding the fire. If we
Yeah,
stop putting the fuel on the fire in our capacity, each one of us have a different capacity, then eventually it's not going to be burning at the same rate. So it's all about energy, folks. We think
yeah.
it's about everything else, but it's about energy.
You know what? I have another story that's a couple of weeks old, maybe three. That's so funny. A friend to a friend um, tried to convince me about psychic work and stuff, right? Um, Not knowing anything about it, and wanted to convince me that it's only something very fluffy and not accurate and
Right.
whatever. And I listened and I saw where this was going, and I said, I hear that you tried to convince me, and thank you for that, but I'm done.
Exactly.
And he started to laugh, and he said, "Oh, that's actually the same way as our common friend usually treats me."
Exactly. But his idea was to get you so riled up and get you defensive and get you, trying to counteract, and that is where it goes. Now, I if you've ever been around a narcissist, I mean a real narcissist, they will use that intimidation, aloof, and interrogator. And then when you do not comply, well, poor me, you're hurting me after they've just inflicted all this. And I watch this, and I can go, okay, that's the Terminator, that's this one, that's what. But they've mastered it, and it you can uh, not retaliate. You can stand up to this and not give your energy away if you recognize and if you love yourself enough to say, thank you, but I'm leaving, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And,
exactly, because it's whoever have been working with people, I mean, publicly, in any way, when we are meeting a lot of people on a daily basis,
Mhm.
professionally, I have basically all my life in different
Mhm.
roles, um, having a store, meeting customers in that way, doing what I do
Yes,
now, selling tickets, doing other stuff, right?
yes.
Um, it's a great teaching. So we shouldn't be afraid of interacting with people because that's not going to bring us into the understanding. So being a nun or a monk, that's not going to help. I
No.
mean, withdrawing from the world, because the goal is not to eliminate human interaction and energetic exchange, but to elevate it to a more conscious and authentic level. So recognizing our own control dramas and those of our others, right? Because we also have our own and we have our triggers. And when we have a trigger, that is a huge sign for us that this is something I need to have a look at. Am I doing it? Have I experienced this? Why is this triggering me? That's a beautiful thing. It doesn't always feel beautiful when we are encountering it, but
Mm.
we learn with the process. And, and by understanding this, we can choose to respond differently because it's becoming conscious, right? It's not something we do automatically anymore. And instead of unconsciously feeding into the drama, we can opt for genuine connection, empathy, and self-awareness. And it doesn't mean to say no to someone doesn't mean that we state that we are above them or better. It
No.
simply states that we are not maybe in alignment with each other. Um, they have their own thing to master and understand, and we have our own thing, but we are not obligated to feel that we need to give away the energy to someone who's drawing it from us, right?
Exactly. And learning to be discerning with our words. And we talked a whole show about words. If you are in a situation where even your kindness and your words that you're trying to help a person understand that this isn't kind of going working, if they are not getting the message, it's okay to not engage. I mean, we even are taught this as children. If you're don't go hang around with the wrong crowd, and so forth and so on. But that doesn't mean that you have to go put yourself in a dangerous situation just to say I'm a good person. you know and
Exactly.
and if we are, I mean, I'm not condemning the man that was interrogating him. That's how he learned. I just knew that there is no way that I could even have one more date with this person. uh,
Yeah.
because it really made me, and I couldn't figure out why it was making me uneasy. But I'm going, this is not how a first date should be, and I realized it
No.
was not for me. And that doesn't mean that that's not right for someone else. But taking care of yourself is
Yeah. And
boundaries.
it's exposing yourself. I mean, interacting, having the courage to taste life, interacting with people. That's going to give the experience as well, right? And I have a funny story actually. And I was in a challenging place. I was selling tickets at a commuter train station in Stockholm. A lot
Yeah,
of people, I don't know, thousands. I think from the time the station opened till it closed, they call it a traffic 24/7
yeah,
for the traffic. I think over 20,000 people passed through that place. And I had one guy, he came from two stations away from me, and he was living where I was. And he came one time, and I was new, and he held me for 45 minutes in between. He stepped aside when people came, wanted to do something, buy a ticket or whatever,
yeah,
and then he came back and he held me for 45 minutes just to talk about his divorce. And I said, my goodness, how am I going to get myself out of this? And
yeah.
I saw him again because he thought that, okay, I have her. I can come back. I'm
In
not
your
judging
little
him.
cage.
I'm not judging him. I'm just, yes, exactly, because I couldn't go anywhere, right? And I didn't want to fight because I don't want to fight if I don't have to. And he came the next day and he was thinking he was going to spit it
Dominate.
all out, having someone listening to him, for me. And I said to him after just 1 minute, I said, I'm sorry, I have a few things I need to attend to here. Um, so have a nice evening. And I did this. At the end, after I think a week or something, I only had to do this when I saw him, so it passed by.
Yay. Well, I never realized that I had a real inner warrior. I talk about it, but I never had to pull it out until I was confronted, physically confronted with a narcissist. And he literally was about 6 inches from my face, and he's just overbearing. And somehow the universe gave me the words, and I looked at him and I said, "Get out of my face." And I don't think anybody has ever said that to him before. But he did move. And it's a good thing because I was reaching for something, and I thought, you come any closer and you may make contact with whatever I've got in my hand, and it may not be pleasant. But I had never in my entire life had that kind of a confrontation, thank goodness. But but I thought, if you don't understand word barriers, then you know
Yeah.
you're going to get more than this.
Yeah. Fortunately, we had glass around, and that was special glass. You couldn't crash it easily,
Yeah,
right? And we
yeah,
had some alarm under the desk and stuff of that nature, because sitting there with all these people, you never know, right? But we
that's right.
also had guards in the system. But at that time, I don't think we had so many moving around. We could call the office and we could say to them, I would need some help here. Yeah, well,
Yes.
they are on the other side of the of town, right? So okay, thank you for that. But we were like caged. So yeah,
Yeah.
I had a psychopath once for 3 hours, and he came to me. He was in it was in the middle in January, in the beginning of January, cold, minus 5, 6, and he had a T-shirt and clothes for the gym. And he said, I locked out. Can I borrow the phone? And I said, we had a phone with a cord, right? So I said, I can call for you and you can talk to your friend if they can bring you the keys. I didn't realize he was a little bit weird, but things can happen, right? You can
Yeah.
close the door and leave your keys on the inside. But he ended up, and I gave him, I had a something like a pullover or something for my work, and I gave that to him. And he was sitting opposite of me, and he came one more time to try to call because no one showed up for him. And then I had a social secretary calling the station and talk to me. And she said to me, he's problematic. Don't let him in. I said, we never let anyone in, right?
Oh no,
But
no.
I treated him good and he wasn't overwhelming. He wasn't bad towards me or anything. And I called the office and I said, I think, Houston, we have a problem here. I need a little bit of backup and help.
Yes.
And they sent the guards. And I think the guards came around the time the police came, and 3 hours passed. But he was sitting opposite of my kind of in glassed office
Hmm.
on a bench, just coming a couple of times. But he actually, when the guards and the police came, he went totally mad.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
He flipped.
Well, you know, this is a time when we learn from experience. We also learn that we love ourselves enough to be conscious of what's going on and live in aware of nowness. And this allows us to be safe when we encounter these people, but learning how to understand when you get that feeling that it just doesn't feel right, you go, somehow this person is pulling my energy away. And
Yeah.
you can give energy on your terms. And if that doesn't rectify the situation and you still are feeling drained, then it's okay. We're giving people permission to be able to say, you're not a bad person if you decide that this isn't going to be for you. I mean, that's why we have so many choices when we go to the store. I mean, you may like pears and I may like apples. That doesn't
Yeah.
make us, so it's okay. We are given free will, we're given choice, and we're given the
Yes.
ability to make those boundaries.
And also, learning things, being able to become aware, determining when this happens, it gives us more strength to not step into more drama, right? Because
Hmm.
I could have, if I would act differently, I could have gotten into a fight with this person. That
Yes,
wouldn't have solved anything, would have become worse, right?
correct. And reading the energy, and everything responds to energy. A plant responds to your energy. Animals especially respond to energy. And understanding the gift that we have of being part of this energetic system, and finding the ways to be able to live in this beautiful experience that we call life, and being able to appropriately be able to assist a situation by changing us.
Yes.
It's we're the ones that are in control of our energy, and we can use it, you know like the good guys or the bad guys. Well, there is no good or bad. We can do it for the positive, we can do it for the negative, and even that is not good or bad. It just is.
Yes.
you know
And you know what? In reality, my perception, but I feel very strongly for this. People are having layers onto them, but at the very core, if you can or are willing to, there is beauty in each and every people, everyone. There are
Yes,
maybe
yes.
only a handful that don't have that, right? but most people actually are ordinary people, and they have a beautiful core here within,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we don't need to judge them, because that's also going to be
Yeah.
creating a drama, right?
And unfortunately, because fear sells, and fear gets people to do all of this stuff. The fear out there is only 2% of what's out there really in the world. But we never hear about the other stuff because we're constantly being fed that energy to get a reaction out of us that is going to produce all of the negative vibes, because of all these little creatures that love the, you know, they're getting fatter and fatter. We need to put them on a diet, you know?
Exactly. Yes. Focusing intentionally our energy towards something positive
Yeah.
rather than negative, right?
And don't feed the fear
Don't
wherever
feed
it
the fear.
shows up.
And
Gee,
by
I
the
think we
way,
talked about that, didn't we?
yeah, by the way, that was last week's show, right? Last
Yeah.
Wednesday. So everybody, if you want to catch up with our shows, you can go to, um, let me get this right. All our shows, you can find them at youtube.com/@angelplaceonearth/streams. And now we have a place on the website as well. So you can find angelplaceonearth.com/series dash cosmic dash guardians,
Wow.
right? And angelplaceonearth.com/upcoming dash past. So there we have, you can see what we are planning and next upcoming show and things of that nature, right?
Mhm. Wow. I'm glad you said that, not me.
I love that, but I deliberately try to avoid www dot, right?
Oh, yes. Well, I think that we have touched on a lot of different things, and I hope we have given everybody that is joining us an opportunity to understand that you're not a victim, that you can spread all of this beautiful energy, and to be aware that um, these people that you encounter, they're not really bad. They just don't know how to build the energy themselves. And be
Exactly.
able to lovingly, tell them bye, or,
Yeah,
you know, but protecting yourself and putting that nobody is going to be able to take my energy. And that's
exactly.
very, very important. Really
Exactly.
stress.
And not being afraid of sharing energy, because
Right.
that's coming from fear also, right?
Yes.
We shouldn't be afraid of radiating love energy and
Yes.
exchanging, right? But we need to master to determine when to say yes or no, or this is going on something that I don't feel comfortable with right now. So,
Yes.
okay, I detach. Or this feels wonderful. I jump in.
Yeah. And back to the warm fuzzies. The when somebody's giving you a cold prickly instead of a warm fuzzy, because they'll say, "Wow, your hair looks nice today. What did you finally do with it?" They've just given a comment, and then and people do this, and you go, uh because it throws you off balance. It's like being, oh, happy, and down. But you hear these cold pricklies all the time, and people think they're being, so wonderful. Wow, that dress looks great, but it looks like you gained weight. I mean,
People, I have to say this, people think that that is being truthful and having integrity. And that's
oh, no, no,
interesting.
no,
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 it's not.
no.
It's not.
That is the furthest thing from that. And uh, and that also is how people get energy from people, because you build them up. That builds one kind of energy, and then you take them down and you go. And
Yes.
um, I literally have a book that was written by she was a NASA scientist for most of her years. And she realized that there was something more outside the box and opened a school where she was teaching how to work with the energies, and has these beautiful examples of what energy looks like when you see people siphoning it, and what it looks like when somebody is stuffing you down, or when somebody just feels beside themselves. They literally, it's amazing. And and I know you and I both see energy to a certain degree, and
Yeah, we do.
but we really feel it. We can really sense that, and
Yeah.
be strong.
Yeah, but we can master it when we are putting ourselves on the journey, the blissful journey of becoming aware.
And we're always learning, constantly learning. I thought after I graduated from a PhD and everything that I did, but you know what? It just keeps, and it's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And it's a continuous journey, always, right?
Always. Yes.
So you think we are ready, wrapping it up?
Well, I think that we have tiptoed and touched and explored, and I think we've I've had fun.
I had fun too. I always have. I love doing this. It's a passion of ours, right? So,
Yes.
well, thank you everybody for watching me and Corinne, Cosmic Sister Show, discussing the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, the fourth insight today, the control drama. People often compete for energy unconsciously. Yes, they do. And our next upcoming show on Cosmic Sister Show is next Wednesday, July 2nd, with me and Corinne, and we will talk about chaos creates completion. Oh, I love that one
Wow.
because it can feel chaotic in the midst of energy and how to manage that, right?
Hmm.
And we did launch a 12-part series in May this year about the Celestine Prophecy and the 12 insights, because there are 12, right? So throughout this year, we'll experience the insights and real world applications to them because they are still standing strong. They are very accurate, culminating in a full summary of all revelations at the end. So join the journey, and we stream the series twice a month. And the rest of the time, we have different other topics because it's a never ending story and everything is connected, right? I'm so excited for that. You can find upcoming and past episodes at angelplaceonearth.com/upcoming dash past. And you can find our series. This is our second series. We did the 4 agreements as well in January this year. So you find our series at angelplaceonearth.com/series dash cosmic dash guardians. Why did I put an extra dash in there? Anyway, and you can find me and Corinne and all, um, phone numbers, emails, everything of that nature at angelplaceonearth.com/cosmic guardians. And we love doing this. It's a passion of ours. And oh, thank you. Um, thank you, Miss Wanda. We just had a message here. So
Yes.
she says, anyway, great show. I need to go. We'll listen to the rest after. Thank you so much, Miss
Thank you,
Wanda.
Wanda.
Thank you. And yeah, we do always go live from now on, from a few weeks back, on youtube.com/at Angel Place on Earth/streams. And we will stream the replay on facebook.com/cosmic guardians. Oh, a lot of links here. Right after the show, as soon as possible. So thank you for watching us. And we love every one of you, and we see you. We appreciate you. And I say love, light, peace, and joy. And what do you say, Corinne?
Love, light, peace, joy, and of course, laughter.
Beautiful. So, bye.
Bye bye.